Hello, welcome in to a cheeky little chi time, just dropping in kind of informally because I've been really feeling this urge to have a chat with you about this season that we're in the UK here. We're in the autumn, or in the fall as you call it in the States, and this change of seasons. So much has been changing going on, hasn't it? And how do we stay steady in amongst all that change? I mean, it's a tall order, isn't it? You know, levels of stress and anxiety are going up, and we're finding all sorts of ways to be able to help ourselves. And as you know, what I talk about a lot and what I practice and share is how important Qigong is, this energy cultivation practice that we have. So if you're up for it, I would love to have a little chat with you now about Qigong breath cultivation and what Qigong can offer to your already existing breathwork practice, and why it's so important that we do this at this time. Well, I've already mentioned that it's the autumn, so this is change in season, the change in air temperature, for our bodies having to get used to the different temperature that we're breathing in, the different temperature of the air outside. And I often think that can sometimes kind of sort of shock the membranes that are the interface between us and the external world. Our skin, of course, we just put more layers on, but with our lungs, it's being aware of when we breathe in, we're inviting in the outside world, the air that is around us all. We then offer it. It comes into us in an intimate way. We bring it right into the center of our bodies. And there's that real fine quality of the air as it reaches down through the tubes, the bronchus, and all the little bronchioles, those tree-like structures in your lungs. And right at the end, there's these alveoli that are like little grapes. And here the membranes are really, really fine, like literally a cell thick, which they kind of have to be in order for the oxygen to actually transfer over into the blood supply. So this interface here is really vulnerable, and so how do we strengthen this? You know what my answer is going to be. It's going to be come into your chi practice, because not only are we using the breathwork foundations of relaxing in and tuning in with the rhythm of your breath. And as I always encourage you to do, soften your belly and watch the air gliding in and out of your nose and your body. And you just know, you're just feeling so much more centered when you give yourself that presence, isn't it? Just coming into your breath. It's that simple. But as with a lot of these classic techniques, there's a simplicity there, which means they're accessible, but it's not necessarily easy always inviting yourself in, which is where people like me come along and go, oh, let's have a play. How does it feel in there as you're breathing, watching the air? So I love that respect of the interface between you and the outside world. And with Qigong, because we're working with this elusive, invisible quality of Qi, which, let's face it, is not dissimilar from the elusive, invisible quality of air, although it's not elusive, it's all around us, isn't it? Being aware of the air all around you, the air that connects you, the air on your skin, the air you're breathing in, and the air that moves as we move. This is... This Qi part is what we're adding to the breath work. This awareness that there are actually Qi particles in the air, which are negative ions. You know how it feels when you go down to the beach or out in the forest. The air feels differently. That's because there's a load of negative ions there that are just much more healthful. Positive ions tend to have accumulation of dust and pollution on them, which is what you find in cities and on main roads and things. But this pure negative ion air, we need it. We breathe it in with the oxygen. So yeah, well, it's taken me this long to mention oxygen, but of course that's what we're receiving, the life-giving oxygen. And it's freely available. It's there for us all the time. So when we acknowledge it, like anything, when we acknowledge something as profound as that, how it works in your body seems to expand and soften and be able to be received more. Does that feel like that to you? And when you appreciate it, exactly. So let's just read a little list of what breathwork can help you with. This is a shortened one. There's loads on the interweb you can find out. But the main thing that they're all agreeing on is this reducing of stress and anxiety. Definitely. The increasing of energy. Well, of course, you're absorbing more oxygen. You're using your lungs in a more holistic way, in a more complete way. More on that in a minute. And it strengthens your immune system simply because you're taking on board more oxygen. Now, you know there's some subtle energy in here too that is also leading us towards this immune system strengthening. It also, breathwork helps to lower your blood pressure, increase your circulation. So it's not just your blood, it's your chi that's going to be able to be more usable in your system. And that improves your mood and your self-esteem, which is huge, isn't it? We want to know where we can go within ourselves to feel peace, to feel sort of contentment, and to feel worthy of our place on the planet. And remember, you are a miracle, so you are allowed to feel worthy. Yeah. One of the things that breathwork does, that Qigong is brilliant for, is improving your sleep. It's the thing that I noticed almost straight away from doing my practice. It really helps to balance me into sleep, because it's exactly that. It helps you to balance. And one of the other things that I just want to mention of what breathwork, the benefit of breathwork, is that it helps to release toxins. Of course it does. The exhalation, it's not just the carbon dioxide that you're exhaling. It's also minute, detritus from cellular metabolism, for want of a better way of expressing it. But you breathe out the stuff that you don't need, just as you pee it out and poo it out. You'll sweat it out. Which actually brings me to how the skin and the lungs are inextricably linked, because of course they're the interface between you and the outside world. So that's why people that have asthma will often get eczema as well, as the body is trying to release the toxins. Now, as you know, if you're a Qi player, fundamentally, at the base of all your Qigong practice, well, there's quite a lot, but your stance, but is this ability to be able to release the old and receive the new. Yeah. And how many of us want to have more? We just want to have more energy. We want to have more fun. We want more of the good things in life. But in order to create space for those, we need to know how to let go. And so Qigong helps us open the lines of discharge and receive simply by standing into your awareness. Now, this is also bringing in one of the topics that I've been speaking to you about before, which is this word song, S-O-N-G, which is the Chinese word for settling in and giving yourself your presence. Now, I dropped a little video a week or so back about the S being representing settling. And so we could bring in the O now, the O representing observation. So just as you're here listening to this, what are you observing about your breath? What are you observing about how it feels to receive your breath and to release it? The receiving, the filling up, can only happen because you've released and you've let go. And this sort of breathing of the energy of receiving and releasing is central to all other processes in your system and in our world. You can't have night without the day. The waves come in and they go out. So when you're in your standing wuji, which is your standing structure in Qigong, it's your postural alignment, ease in your ankles and knees, sitting in the saddle of life, nice long spine, back of your neck long, jaw relaxed, arms hanging at your side, a little bit of space under your armpits. Soft belly breathing, relaxing in, settling and observing. You are entering into your energetic dialogue with the earth. Great grandmother earth supports you all the time. Physically, you can feel it. You can feel her presence underneath you, yeah? But when you stand in the Wu Qi and you just let yourself surrender to gravity, aware of the soles of your feet, rooting down into the earth, taking a nice breath out and sensing your roots growing. And you can see these not just as anchoring channels, but also as conduits for releasing. And the release tends to happen down the back of you, because this is linked in with meridian lines, the water meridian lines that help to clear and flush down the back of your head, back of your neck, back of your shoulders, back of your back of your hips, back of your legs, all flowing down to the earth, clearing you out. By the same token, because you've created space from the letting go, the fresh new energy comes up from the surface of the earth, bubbles up into your bubbling spring and the balls of your feet, and comes up the channels on the inside of your legs, all the way up to the base of the torso, the hui yin, the perineum, and also up to your belly center, which is your reservoir that holds the qi. Now, when you link that with your breath, connecting with your belly, you're starting to come into this internal alchemy. And oh my gosh, there's so much I could share with you. And I will, you know what I'm like. I'm going to drop some more stuff in for you. So to give you this experience of what it feels like to be in touch with your breath and your being and the planet, and knowing that you're stepping into an automatic release and recharge. It's like, oh, don't have to try at this. I just have to come and let myself do it. Be encouraged by me coming into to sessions as well. So I'm here for a bit of accountability, as well as offering you fresh new sessions, which happen once a week on a Tuesday morning UK time, available on replay as often as you want to replay them until the new course begins. Let's let you into a little secret that all the replays, until they are taken down, are also downloadable. I know. I'm here to help you and your qi. So if you want to find out more, it's going to be in links and stuff around all of this, or my website, clarapollo.com. But what I'd like to also talk into now a bit is, what is Qigong giving to breathwork that's not already there? Or if it is already there, what's the Qigong approach going to help enhance or make it better? You know what I mean? So one of the first things, I've got five things to share with you here. So the first one is that when you step into your qi practice, you come into stillness, you release, you recharge, and then you get into moving the energy, to getting it to circulate around your system, maybe going to specific organs, or and enhancing a certain feeling that you want to play with, you know. And with the breath, moving with the rhythm of your breath is one of the most congruous acts that you can do. Play with it now. So you could literally, a very simple movement is raising up the arms at the side, letting them curve over the top, and then travelling down the centre. So this is our great wheel of qi. Big favourite. So just sensing with you in your breathing, so as you're lifting your arms at the side, that feels like, what kind of breath cycle would that want to be in? And what kind of breathing would want to come down the centre? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of quite obvious, isn't it? You want to breathe in as the arms do their wide circle up to the top of your head, then the palms curve over, and then they slide down the centre line, and you just breathe out. You're circulating the qi, breathing in and up, and breathing out and down. Now, if you can let your breathing rhythm denote the pace of your great wheel of qi, so you hand it over to what your breathing feels like doing rather than what your mind thinks it should be doing, then you're really into some deep, good qi practice. Always in my sessions, there's time for movement with the rhythm of the breath. As I say, this is this deeply congruous act of bringing your mind together with your body and touching into your soul, because working with your breath is deeply respectful. And when you're deeply respectful for yourself, your soul feels happier to be at home in your body. And where does the soul like to live? In your heart, because it's the place of truth and power. And your heart is inextricably linked with your lungs and your breathing. And just as your lungs receive and release, so your heart receives and releases. You see, it's going on everywhere, right down to the cells, the balancing act of releasing old and receiving the new. And this is what your qi practice is going to add to your breath work. The second thing, this is really important. I think that this is fundamental to all breath work. And as I say, the Qigong will take it a little bit further. So this is the power of the diaphragmatic breathing. Yeah, I know you know about all of this, but it's good to have it repeated. Maybe I'll come in from a different angle, or I'll remind you of something that you already know. That when you relax your belly, your breathing feels different, doesn't it? And this is because there's more space for your diaphragm to flatten out. So it's a dome-shaped sheet of muscle that is just below your rib cage. And when you breathe in, its central tendon pulls down, flattens out. And if you're holding onto your belly, there's going to be nowhere for your abdominal organs to go. So it's going to be a little bit of a fight going on in there because it's already pretty intense. It's a lot of stuff on top of each other. Anyway, let's not go into that. You want to have space for the belly to balloon when you breathe in, so then the lower lobes of your lungs can be activated with your breath. And as you probably know, the lower lobes of your lungs have got a much richer blood supply, which is why when you do breathe deeper and in a relaxed way, you don't have to breathe as many times per minute because it's more efficient. But if you try and force it, that can cause trouble as well. You can't force a good deep breathing. It needs to be relaxed. And releasing the belly is a key component of this. But that's not all diaphragmatic breathing and Qigong is good for here. What it brings you in touch with is your dantian. Your dantian. So this is your energy center in your belly, which are traditionally 2 fingers width down, 2 fingers width in, just popping your crossed hands on there and standing in this place of power. This is also your center of balance and a great place to bring yourself back to being curious. Now, when you're curious about this place, you get the mind involved. The mind will go on its usual shrugging along going, oh, shouldn't you be doing something else? And you're like, hey mind, let's have a little bit look at this curious dantian place, which is in my center of balance, and also it's your central reservoir of qi. So all our practice builds the energy in your dantian, because when that is full and replete, it's like a rechargeable battery unit. When it's full and replete, it activates the heart, or it supports the heart dantian, that then supports the head, the upper dantian. And then it also is this lake of energy in your belly that can then fuel the meridian lines that come up and around the spine and back down, up the center line, around the waist, as well as the organ meridians. So it's really a fundamental place for us to get a handle on. And in fact, if you were a piece of luggage, that's where your handle would be. So you can stand there with your hands over your belly quite happily in public, knowing that you are centering yourself. And if you're letting your belly relax and you're breathing into this area, this is the magic. You are breathing in the oxygen to your lungs. You are breathing in through the center line of your body. The qi, those negative ions from the air, is traveling down the center into your dantian, because your mind is on it, your hands are on it, and you're curious about this. This is the sort of stuff that we do in my sessions. In fact, I'm giving away loads of things here because I can't not. Because if it's going to help you in any way, then that's what I'm here to do. So, what about this strengthen the immunity thing then? How does Qigong help with that? Well, it's all to do with the lungs and the lung qi, and what happens when you cultivate lung qi, and towards the end of your practice, what that can then produce for you to strengthen your immunity. So yes, you've got the physiology of strengthening your lungs through this practice of relaxing belly, diaphragmatic breathing, and inflating the whole of your lungs, belly and chest, and this release of the old, receive of the new. But there's something really magical, proper magic that happens with the qi of the lungs. And I'm not going to go into detail here because we're going to do more of this on the Qigong Breathwork cultivation course, which is happening now. So this is a month's course in October where there's a new live every week that is different in length. So we begin with a 30-minute morning routine. The following week will be a 45-minute one. The following week will be an hour where we'll get deeper into the forms. And then the last session's an hour and a half, and it's like a masterclass where we bring together all the themes that we've been exploring, and I share a very potent form with you to then be able to get under your belt to do your own practice. So if you'd like to know more about that, get in touch with me, drop me a little comment, or go over to my website, which is clarapollo.com, but it seems to still be consciouslyvingevents.co.uk, but I'll sort that out in some time anyway. That's where all the info is. Because this is the sort of stuff we look at. And it's building on what you already know, which is great. Really, really great, because you want strong immunity. You want your lungs to be working on the topmost for you. You want your system to have this replenishment at its core, don't you? You want to be able to do the things that you're here to do in your life. I mean, I would not be able to do what I do without my qi practice. Honestly, I was so grateful for it when it first came into my life when I was a single mom, and I was very burnt out. I'd been a costume designer, and I was just doing all sorts of lots of coffee and that kind of thing, not sleeping very much, not respecting myself at all. And then the more that I got into this practice, the more it has helped me through all sorts of changes and shifts in my life. And I'm out the other side of menopause now as well, and I didn't have a home for 5 years, and I'm here, and I'm thankfully had a home for the last 3 years, and I'm very happy. But there's so many shifts going on in our world. I thankfully have this practice of being able to bring myself back to presence and peace, no matter what is going on. Yes, sometimes it takes a bit longer than others to actually bring myself back, but I know that practice is there. So this is the key with Qigong. It's a repetitive thing. You want to keep coming in. You're creating new synaptic pathways. You're raising your vibration. You're choosing where to place your mind. You're coming into a deeper integrity with yourself and your soul. This really is the mind, body, spirit exercise for the 21st century, because it augments all the others. It's not yoga or Qigong. It's yoga, Qigong, and it's like, why can you go with this? Same with mindfulness. So I said I had 5 things. We've done 3. We've done working with the rhythm of your breath, expanding your diaphragm, strengthening your immunity, and now I've mentioned centering, haven't I? So I think this is a key component of this breath practice. And so as well as the 4 live Qigong sessions, there's also going to be one audio meditation. So this takes you through some breath work from a Qigong perspective. And without giving too much away here, there are stages of the breath that are really worth investigating in a very calm, relaxed way. Maybe you already know them, but I find this really useful to have something that can talk you through and be with that. Where am I feeling it in myself, and how does that help me here? So that is powerful, very, very powerful. And the other thing that I've touched upon is the thing about boundaries. So the boundaries between you and the outside world, but also the working with the lung chi will help you with your capacity, with your emotions and your mental brain work, to be able to be clear about where your boundaries need to be and how you can bring yourself further up that list of priorities, because I know we all need to try and find a way of doing that. So before I go, what I would like to do is just drop something in now, which again will probably feel really obvious, but it's also really key and spot on for me. And that is how the air is responsible for us being able to hear. I know. So you can only hear me now because the vibrations are coming through the air. I mean, this is magical, isn't it? This is like, you can't hear anything in space because there's a vacuum. So the particles in the air transmit information. And when you make sounds with your voice, of any kind of sound, you are giving to the energy of the air. So whatever you're saying, is the energy of it is being received into the air that we're all sharing. So if we could be more benefactorous, not the word just making it up as I go along, but bringing the good stuff out of our mouths with sounds, singing, or with beautiful words and kindness, then we're getting that out into the air that other people can then pick up on and feel and maybe even breathe in. That's quite a nice thought, isn't it? That not only are we responsible for the frequency that our system is holding, so therefore how we're feeling on the inside, what we're choosing, that radiates out into your chi field. That is in the air. So it's held with the intelligence of the air. So let's do a couple more rounds of the Great Wheel of Qi, but this time making a sound as you exhale. What do you say? Now, if you're sitting somewhere and you can't do this, just imagine it. So we're lifting our arms up. Sighing out and down. And again. One more time. Just let your hands land in your crossed hand position on your belly. Yes, yes, yes. Here I am being, that's what you can say. I am being, I am balance. I am a breathing being, a miraculous breathing being, anything that puts a little smile on your face so that you can spread that chi around your system. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening or watching this episode of Chi Time with me, Clara Apollo. If you're watching on the YouTube, do subscribe and then you'll find out what's coming up next. More Chi-ful magic and shenanigans. If you're on the podcast, remember that we're also on Spotify as well, which makes it really easy for you to just be able to listen to the next episode. So, and as I say, if you want to come along and into this Qigong breathwork cultivation practice that's happening, then find out more. You know where to find me. Not difficult. I think I'm the only person called Clara Apollo. Really helpful, that, isn't it? And I'm happy to just chat with you about stuff as well. What's this brought up for you? What have you noticed for these little like mini practices that we've been playing with? I'd love to know. It's a total joy that you've let me into your life here. I really appreciate your time and your space. And so here is my favourite heart bowl to play us out through the air.